One of the biggest corporations in the country is falling apart. Employees are coming forward to speak out about safety problems that are putting millions of people at risk, and they're turning up dead under mysterious circumstances. Let's take a deeper look at what's been happening with Boeing and their whistleblowers. Let's get it.
Coverage on the death of John Barnett, the man who reported unsafe practices on Boeing production lines. He was found dead in Charleston over the weekend. Ryan Emerson spoke with his lawyer and has details on his conversations with John leading up to his death.
Well, Robert Turkowitz tells us that he's been working on Barnett's case against Boeing since 2017, when Barnett first raised the alarm about Boeing practices. Turkowitz says he last spoke to Barnett the night before he died, and he was in good spirits. Turkowitz telling him to get a good night's sleep. They had just started a month-long deposition process. He says the case was going very well, and he told that to Barnett. Barnett told him he was looking forward to getting back to his family in Louisiana after these depositions.
I mean, we're just shocked and devastated by it. John was a brave, honest man of the highest integrity, and it's a huge loss to his family and his friends and to those who knew him. John never met a stranger, and he was just a great individual, and he had the courage to do the right thing. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's cost him the ultimate price. Does he have a target on him? I don't know the answer to that. Hopefully not, but I'm sure there were people who are angry at him blowing the whistle.
More depositions with his client, with Turkowitz's client, Barnett, were planned for that Saturday morning when they woke up to the torrential rainstorm on Saturday. Turkowitz called Barnett's hotel room repeatedly at the Holiday Inn on Savannah Highway. And when Barnett didn't answer, he called the hotel and asked if his truck was still in the parking lot. That's when he was told by a hotel staff member after they checked that the hotel was calling EMS. And despite a note and a gun found at the scene, according to Charleston police, Turkowitz says he hopes that the police leave no stone left unturned in this high-profile case, and he looks forward to hearing the results of their investigation. Turkowitz says Barnett's trial was for June of this year against Boeing. He says he plans to move forward with the trial, and it will now possibly be in the name of the estate of John Barnett.
Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, BitBoy, and today we're getting deep. If you want your political, financial, and historical IQs to increase, then watch this entire video. Add to the discussion by joining me on my Discord server, link below and on screen. It's my new home base for social media and my community. There are some companies, power players, and wealthy families that have a lot of control in our world, but we don't think about them much because they work behind the scenes. They're still out in the open, and we will often recognize their names, but most of us don't interact with them directly, so they're able to fly under the radar. Boeing is one of these companies and has been popping up in the news a lot recently, so I want to take a look at some of their recent scandals because I'm wondering why they seem so untouchable. I also want to cover this story because I think the decline of Boeing is a symptom of the wider economic decline that we're seeing as the country loses global dominance and begins to face the realities of de-dollarization. Boeing is a vital piece of the American transportation infrastructure, and it's falling apart while the executives and shareholders do their best to siphon the remaining value out of the company, leaving less money for employees and safety. By the way, guess who the biggest shareholders in the company are? If you've been following this series, then you'll be familiar with some of the names. The privately owned Vanguard, the publicly owned BlackRock, and State Street, three of the biggest financial institutions in the world. Boeing has been one of the top companies in the world for nearly 100 years, thanks to regular contracts with the U.S. military, a near monopoly on airplane manufacturing in the United States, and also, don't forget, the Wright brothers. Hippies have always hated them for obvious reasons. Not the Wright brothers, Boeing. But overall, they had a lot of respect and their products were trusted. That's not how things are today, though. Over the past 2 years, there have been countless dangerous situations happening on Boeing airplanes, including that MFR is not real. I think that happened on one. But some of these were clearly the result of neglect and bad safety practices during the manufacturing, not PSYOPs. The worst incidents that have happened so far are the Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia, which took the lives of 346 people. Sad. There have also been a ton of close calls as well, from a door and piece of the wall falling off in the air during a flight or engines catching fire, which is bringing the safety of Boeing's entire fleet into question. As more stories of crashes, emergency landings, and near disasters began to hit the news, whistleblowers who had been speaking out for years finally started to get some attention. All the whistleblowers said they faced extreme intimidation from the company when they dared to speak out about the dangerous safety cutbacks that were happening at the company. Then they started turning up dead. John Barnett was one of the most public of the whistleblowers and had been fighting the company for years. Barnett was in the middle of testifying against the company and was staying at a hotel in Charleston, South Carolina, when he was found dead from a gunshot wound in his car in the parking lot of the hotel. Police have initially ruled the case to be a suicide, but his family and friends don't believe it. Neither do his lawyers, neither do I. So they insisted that the police go back and conduct a more thorough investigation. It's easy to paint a lot of these situations as suicide because they can just say that they were stressed out by all of the court cases and harassment. We've seen that in many other cases where whistleblowers lost their lives under mysterious circumstances. It's definitely possible that the extreme stress, constant threats, will drive someone to a dark place, but in most of these situations, these whistleblowers are people who are on a mission, which makes it unlikely that they would take their own lives before seeing that mission through to completion. Additionally, maybe some of them have actually just disappeared into that crazy level on Mario Brothers 3. See, they blew the whistle. You guys get it? Okay. Let's get back. Within a month or so of the first suspicious death, another whistleblower, Luigi, I'm just kidding, that was typically in good health, became mysteriously ill and died within 2 weeks of getting sick. He was only 45 years old. That's barely older than me.
A former Boeing employee who went public with safety concerns over the 737 MAX has died. It happened just weeks after another Boeing whistleblower committed suicide. 45-year-old Joshua Dean died Tuesday morning from a severe infection. He had worked as a quality auditor at Spirit Aerosystems, a company that builds parts for Boeing. His attorneys say he was in good health until about 2 weeks ago. Then he was admitted to the hospital with the flu, pneumonia, and MRSA. In 2022, Dean raised concerns about manufacturing safety on some Boeing 737 MAX airplanes. He was fired last year and later filed a complaint with the FAA. His death comes just a few months after Boeing whistleblower John Barnett died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The two were represented by the same attorneys.
Wow.
The government is handling the Boeing controversies very delicately. And by that I mean that Boeing and its executives are getting special treatment that few other companies would get in a situation like this. It seems that they've determined that Boeing is too big to fail and too big to jail, just like the banks that were responsible for causing and profiting from the financial crisis of 2008. Boeing whistleblowers and executives have been questioned by Congress, but the media is reporting that there is a very good chance that everyone involved will avoid jail time for the issues with the plane, and nobody is even investigating the suspicious deaths. In any other similar situation, the company in question would need to recall all of their products and replace them with new ones. But this would probably tank the company, and Congress owns a ton of stock in Boeing, so I'm sure they don't want that. Some of them have already started selling, but you know how it is when your bags are down. The last thing you want is more bad news. Newsflash, more bad news. Last week, Boeing's CEO was forced to testify in Congress, and he was grilled by the politicians pretty good. But it doesn't seem like they're looking at any serious penalties, at least not yet anyway. Let's take a look at one of the most intense exchanges.
Mr. Calhoun, what is it that you get paid currently?
Senator, that's well disclosed in our proxy documents in each of the years that I've been employed.
Yeah, but what is it?
It's a big number, sir.
Let me help you out. It's $32.8 million this year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
That's a 45% increase over last year. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
What is it you get paid to do exactly?
I get paid to run the Boeing company.
Yeah. So just help me understand that. I mean, do you get paid for transparency? Is that one of the metrics for your income?
I think the board counts on me for transparency.
Really? Because you're under investigation for falsifying 787 inspection records. The Boeing's under criminal investigation for the Alaska Airlines flight. You were investigated by DOJ for criminal conspiracy to defraud the FAA. This is all in your tenure. This doesn't sound like a lot of transparency to me. What about safety? Is that a component of your salary?
It sure is, Senator.
Have you seen the reports that the subcontractor that you used to make that door piece that fell out of the sky, that when the FAA went and toured the facility, they found one door seal being lubricated with Dawn liquid dish soap and cleaned with a wet cheesecloth, and another was being checked with a hotel room key card? Does that sound like safety to you?
I think our relationship with that particular supplier has been well documented, reviewed by the FAA and most certainly us. And I'm very intent on acquiring that company so that none of that ever happens.
The FAA also says that Boeing still has not implemented the recommended steps back from 2019 and 2020 after the MAX crashes. You still have not taken the appropriate safety procedures or implemented what they recommended. I mean, how, if safety is a component of your $33 million compensation package, I mean, how can you possibly qualify for any of this? What about quality? Is quality part of your compensation package?
I meet with the FAA pretty regularly. They don't hold anything back, and I'm not aware of anything that has been cited with respect to those accidents that we haven't taken action on.
Really? Because we've had whistleblowers. You said you'd listen to whistleblower testimony. We've had multiple whistleblowers come before this committee and allege that Boeing is cutting every possible corner on quality and safety, not just in the past, but now. They've alleged that you've eliminated safety inspections, that there are fewer in quality and there are fewer inspectors doing quality inspections out there. They've alleged that when they raised quality issues and concerns, they were reassigned, they were retaliated against, they were physically threatened. That doesn't sound like attention to quality to me, and yet you're getting paid $33 million a year. It's extraordinary.
Senator, we have increased our quality inspectors significantly.
As much as it feels good to watch these guys get yelled at, I'm starting to think that these sessions in Congress are nothing more than Greek theater. Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, and many other controversial figures were taken in front of Congress for similar hearings, and of course, nothing really changed. This may be different because people's lives are actually at risk, but no drastic actions have been taken yet. Things keep getting worse for Boeing too. At first, I was thinking that this was just a problem with the airplanes, but this seems to be a company-wide problem because 2 astronauts are currently stranded on the International Space Station because of problems with a Boeing spaceship. As I said in the intro, this is a sign that our transportation infrastructure here in the US is failing. This is one of the cracks that you can see starting to appear in the system. Hopefully, we can get a handle on this problem as a country and keep air travel safe, but it's just another sign that some of the comfort and security we took for granted is now at risk. Standard of living is going down. All this comes back to money and economics, which is why having a free, open, and decentralized economy is so important. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.